Hey guys, I'm going to do a quick video here, just kind of explain the difference between single action, double action, and striker fire. Those are your main common triggers that you're going to have in your pistols nowadays. Your Glocks and M&Ps and a lot of your other ones out there, your polymer frame ones, a lot of them, they're going to be, the newer ones are going to be a striker fire trigger. This is a Beretta, but also I think there's a couple more out there that are like this. This is a single double action. Your revolvers, they're the same thing. A lot of them are going to be single double. You're going to have single actions, and you're going to have double action only. And then like your 1911s, those are going to be single action only. And just a quick explanation of this, I'll make it as simple as I can. We'll start with a single action. All right, single action is going to be with your hammer in the cocked position. The single action is it takes a single motion, a single movement, and a single thing is happening. When you pull the trigger, all you're doing is releasing your hammer. So when you pull the trigger, the hammer goes home, strikes the firing pin, and everything else goes on as it should. All right, that is a single. If the gun only functions like that, like a 1911, that's the only way it's going to happen. You can't, with the hammer forward on a 1911, you're not going to be able to pull that trigger and make a round go off. They don't work like that. With the Beretta, it's a single double, like you just saw. You have single action, just like that. But now you have the ability to pull the trigger again, which this is a double action because it's two actions. You are cocking the hammer as you pull back, and then once you reach the end of the travel, the hammer goes off. So that's a one motion, two motion. So that's the easiest way I remember it. For me, that's a single and double action. This is a single double. Like I said, a lot of your revolvers, your snub nose revolvers that have a covered hammer, those are going to be double action only, because there's no exposed hammer, you can't cock it, but it's a double action. That's one reason people like them, because it's a heavy trigger. Whereas if the handgun is already cocked, or the weapon's already cocked, if you just apply a little bit of pressure, you're gonna drop your hammer, and that's the easiest way to explain that. With a striker fire, when the hammer is back, it's not back all the way. Without getting real nerdy and technical into it, when you pull the trigger with Glocks and M&Ps, and a lot of them, they have some internal safeties, and as you pull the trigger, you're basically releasing those internal safeties, and then it comes to a point where you have a very slight pull, and you're basically finishing pulling back the hammer, and as it's completing those safeties inside the gun that's going on, it finished pulling back the hammer, and then it releases. So that's why people are scared. I mean, some people say Glocks don't have safeties. You can take this thing and kick it around. It's not just going to go off. The guns don't just go off. It's not like a single action where if this is cocked and it's sitting here, well, no gun, I'm not going to get off on a tangent on this, but no gun in and of itself is just going to go off unless you give it, 60 years and the rust, it starts rusting and corroding, and then something gives out, but by that time the gun's not going to work anyway. But a gun's not just going to go off. But with a single action, it's a lot easier for something to just get into the trigger and cause it to go off. With a striker fire, they have, well, with the Glocks, they have the little trigger safety thing. M&Ps have them too. But then there's other internal components in here. I'm not going to get into everything like that. But there are internal components that this thing will not just go off banging it around. You've got to complete that cycle of pulling the trigger all the way to the rear, finish loading your firing pin, and then letting it go home. So these are very, very close to being a single action, but there's slight differences, but they're enough to make it a different animal, as it were, but they function pretty much the same like that. But there you go. That's the easy, quick, down and dirty explanation I have for you. If it makes sense, I'm glad I can help. If it didn't make any sense, then forget everything I said and study it up on yourself. But that's how I remember how they work. I hope that helps.